Hey there, welcome to another video of me playing Elite Dangerous, and this is my continuing story of the game so far. You can see here we are about to enter a war zone with our ship, the Corvette, fully tooled up and fully equipped, hopefully, with those engineer upgrades. So let's enter a high intensity conflict war zone, and this footage was actually recorded in January of 2017 using my old graphics card. So this footage will be a little bit on the stuttery side, but let's just fast forward till we get to that action where we can see us actually into the place itself. You can see this place is pretty hectic with lots of things going on, and so let's attack this humble python with our usual attack formation, and let's see if we can deal with this thing with our D grade shield boosters, because this was a test just to see if those C grade shield boosters were any good in a combat zone, because they're supposed to recharge quicker and they are much lighter as well. So let's just see, and you can see that python is putting up some kind of attack, but he isn't actually scratching those shields. But it wasn't always so easy, as we're about to see as we start to attack our next candidate. And it's about choosing the correct candidate in this game, somebody without any wings hopefully, and I'm firing on that guy before I've even scanned him, which isn't helpful. And so you can see I'm now under attack, and so we have one enemy and he's stripped down my shields. So this was a test just to see if D grade shields would hold up against any of these enemies, because they recharge faster and they're much lighter. But I found on the Python, well actually on the Corvette, it didn't make much difference because it's a big old ship anyway. So if you're reducing the size and the weight of those shield boosters, it doesn't really happen to any great effect. And with a great big ship like this, it's better, I find, to have the A's and have the most strength possible, and that means you can defend yourself against these thermal attacks. That's the first round of attacks over with, and you can see I'm actually using a rapid fire multi-cannon grade 4, and I think that's the red one, and I'm also using an overpowered multi-cannon, that's the yellow one. And so you can see my shields have already taken the first grade of downfall, and now we're on through into the second ring, and we haven't reduced that guy yet. You can see that everything is going wrong because we had at least 3 guys attacking us. We're not wanted, but this is maybe a former version of the game, and at this point I had a lot of attackers, so boosting out of that region gave us a split second to get out of there. But look at that, our temperature is really going through the roof as I try to get some shields back, and flying out of that area of course really helps. So unfortunately, even with all these shield boosters and all these shield cell banks, of which I have 10 on this thing, it still takes forever to recharge the shield, and it's better to have a stronger shield to begin with. And so this is a lesson that I learnt the hard way, because, well, this is test footage that I had to use, and I had to find out that mechanic. And sometimes you have to wade into the action and you have to take those tests, and sometimes for a lighter ship like the Asp, then certainly lighter shield boosters are better than the A's because they recharge much quicker, and for a tiny ship those are glorious, but for a big heavy ship like this, unfortunately I really should have run away, but instead I turned to face those enemies and trying once again to see if I can keep the frame rate up. You can see the frame rate counter in the bottom left corner, and I'm managing to get an average of about 38 frames per second out of this. This is using my old graphics card. This is with an NVIDIA 650, and the 650 only just plays and records this game at the same time, and well, the average has gone up to 41 frames per second, and now it's gone back down again. So you can see in space this 650 card isn't too great, and with this setup even the Corvette is struggling when I have more than one attacker. You can see someone behind, and so I'm doing the barrel roll, and that shook him off. And yes, you can do that and try and lose your target that way by spinning around wildly, and that helps us to get through it. But you can see that the enemy still flies around us in circles, and there's a lot of particles going on in this particular region of space.
Under attack.
Even my firepower against this vulture isn't amazing, and you can see I'm still under attack by 2 people, and really if I have the strongest and the biggest battleship in the game, it's not the biggest bulk carrier, but it's supposed to be a battleship, then certainly more than one attacker should be no problem to deal with. And unfortunately it is when there are spinning circles around me, and one of those is a Cobra. So I really should have taken that Cobra out straight away, and those pesky critters are really pesky at best of times. But I am in a combat zone because I really need the combat credit, and so I'm flying around wildly trying to reacquire that target. And no, I'm bravely running away, and bravely running away for the second time, just so that I can recharge those painfully slow to recharge shields is a good idea. And it gives you that opportunity, but in this case I'm bravely, wisely, unwisely running back into the battle again, and with that amount of damage it's a gamble whether I can knock his shields down in time, and I don't right now well with those kinds of manoeuvres. And now he's going to get his full shield back, and we're going to be back again to square one. Well, sometimes it's better to recharge those shields, and I think in this particular case it's better if I do that. And that vulture's got its shields back up, and I'm legging it, and hopefully sometimes grabbing those combat bombs quickly is a great thing to do. And in the big ship it makes you a bigger target, and I've known myself fly around in a very small ship deliberately trying to get killed, and I cannot, because the small ship is no target and everybody ignores it. and I've been there deliberately trying to die in a sidewinder, deliberately ramming ships and not getting blown up with 3% health remaining, simply because that ship is just too damn small. But let's just exit, hopefully, this conflict zone, and that's a great view of the planet. See that whizzing on by. But we'll be whizzing on by this footage as I narrate it, and this has been some time since I recorded it. Of course, this is footage that I've recorded during a year-long play of this game, and by the end of it we'll all caught up to date with stuff that I recorded last week. And so you can see my basic setup as I continue to play this game. This isn't for the camera, this is just me playing it. And you can see some of the things that I've got on my stock Corvette with the stock paint job. And I'm about to change my weapon colour, because I did actually buy 2 weapon colours. And I can't actually remember the second colour. It could have been red, but the first colour was purple. So let's switch to that. And you can see that I've stored a lot of modules, and I've even stored class 4 modules as well, and boost those up just in case the engineers later on can do something with those. And now this is fast forwarding to around May of this year, 2017, when I'm recording a test using, I think, my new graphics card, or at least a different setup. You can see the frames per second has gone up, and we're on maybe 45 frames per second, and this is just a test to see if surfaces can work at full detail, and yes they do, and yes I can record it hopefully a little bit more smoothly than I did before. And that's the arsenic, well, not collected. I went for the nickel, but arsenic, well, I must have tons of that to be ignoring it. And I've got tons of most materials. So this is yet another test. This is a 30 frames per second test on the same thing instead of a 25 frames per second test. And, well, the frame rates are still there. And I think it's even smoother, the footage, than it was before. And it all depends. As long as it's above 25, then it should be smoother. But of course, if it drops frames, it's more noticeable at the lower frame rates. It's still not 60 frames per second, but there you go, that's that. So let's fast forward on to August of this year, and now let's fast forward on to what looks like Haz-Res, and it looks like it's an icy world Haz-Res around a gas giant. And here we are testing another setup. This is again with the Corvette, but this time I have A-rated shields and A-rated shield boosters, and of course A-rated everything. And now we have the purple everything. You may notice that I have a central beam laser and 2 to accompany that, and I've also got the grade 4 multi-cannons and also a couple of grade 2 multi-cannons as well, just to defeat that enemy. And I figure that if I transfer most of the power around while flying, that is good. But you can see that I've forgotten to do that in this particular case, and this isn't my usual attacking power transfer method. And most power to the ship engines is great for turning, but it's not really good for combat. this particular case, I've fast forwarded directly to the worst stage in the entire level, because before this and after this I didn't get anywhere near this low on the shields. In fact, nobody even took a ring off the shields after this. But you can see I'm having to use shield cell bank after shield cell bank to keep myself afloat, avoid sinking in this action. But you can see with those A-grade shield boosters, somehow those shields seem to recharge quicker, and I'm already up to the second ring, and even though this is the hottest and the deepest I got, it didn't actually wipe my shields out, and this is the most difficult against a Fer-de-Lance and a Python in the same wing, I think, and this was the hardest stage of this particular run. As I say, after this I didn't even get a scratch. And so it really is better in this case to have the best weaponry. And at this point, sometimes I'd check out what those guys have, but ordinarily they don't carry anything that I want, so let's ignore those. And I'm not sure, but I think I'm carrying a stock of limpets around with me at this point, just in case those guys are carrying anything important. And I've noticed that sometimes they are, but very rarely, and I wish the makers of this game would make those collectibles a little more worth something. And so, according to this, I'm still in the exact same Hazres, and what have we spotted now? It looks like an easy sidewinder, and it looks like a Federal gunship as well. And that's him down and out of the picture. Sometimes I do reverse thrust and run backwards, and that means that you can have a blast on those guys all the time, and their AI isn't that good. They'll still follow you even if you're running in reverse, so that's a good and easy way to take down all those enemies. But that's enough combat for the time being, and this is an hour-long video to catch up with what I've been doing all year, of course. So where are we now? Fong Wang. So we're attempting to dock, it looks like. It's a docking station, and it's one of those that I can't pronounce, but that's okay, because this is just to show you that it is possible to line up with those things. And yes, some of the bases are in alignment with the planet's surface, but as I mentioned on the previous video, most actually aren't, or many of those actually aren't. I didn't actually say most, but there you go. I am about to line up with the letterbox, because you can see the letterbox in the small image in the bottom left corner, and if we are out of alignment with that, we can simply move to one side.
Dynamics, Lima, Indio, Foxtrot. Federal flight control is now online. Follow sanctioned docking procedures within port confines. Okay,
so
Commander.
the mini-map and the tiny circle is sometimes misleading, but the small icon on the screen, which shows a small representation of the station, is usually correct, and you can see I'm lining up again with another one, Jameson Memorial, and you can see that we line up perfectly with the small image. So as long as we line up the front of that ship, hopefully we'll be alright.
Landing pad for your arrival, Commander. Welcome to our station. Access granted. Set down on landing pad 02.
And at this point I'll just point out that I think I'm playing in open play mode, because since I got my new fast graphic card, I usually play in open play because I'm brave in it, and also because I'm not going near any of the action. I'm not stupid enough to do any community goals in that mode. But here we go, we are hopefully, I think, about to change ship away from our combat vehicle into our courier ship, which happens to be an ASP.
Landing successful. Clear to disembark. Enjoy your visit, Commander.
You can see in this particular starbase on this particular day we managed to find a mission, and there are tons of passenger missions now available, and this is the old version, this is the old patch of course, and I think this is 2.3 and we're up to 2.4 at the moment. And well, we are about to swap over onto our ASP Explorer from our 330 million pound ship onto a 31.5 million pound ship, and that means our insurance will be a lot less. And you can see in open play mode we have a lot of commanders hanging around Shinra Desra, and none of those are actually my friends, and I've never joined another ship and I've never found a crew. So here we go, this is, well, it said September I think on that particular display, and let's have a browse. There was one there for 5 million credits, which isn't so bad, and I find that the passenger missions are much more valuable than the ordinary missions, and we can have a great time as well. And so we can choose this one, and so let's accept that contract. I didn't actually see how much that was for, but oftentimes those are worth 4 million credits. But I can't stop the footage and rewind it because I'm actually narrating this live in this particular case. So that means that I'm having to narrate over the whole thing in one go. So let's select our next destination, and in this ASP it's pretty good. We can get to those long distances in round about 1 or 2 jumps, and that's absolutely terrific. It means we can just get there. And so let's fast forward to the point where we do get there, just to see if this new graphics card is any quicker on the landing department, because if you remember the old one, it took maybe 30 seconds to a minute to actually land the ship. So let's again try to half the height with the distance to go, and we have, well, if it's 200 kilometers to go, well, hopefully it should be 100 kilometers high, and when we get anywhere near that I'll plunge towards the planet's surface, and we'll watch and we'll wait and we'll see how much of a delay this game has now with this graphics card as we come into land, and it makes all the difference, all those calculations. And yes, that was an instant, I do underline that, an instant drop. We didn't lose speed, we didn't lose, well, the height didn't stop either, so that's amazing. And so that means we are right over that target. We didn't lose any time whatsoever, although there are still some delays in the game. It means a faster graphics card, and I've actually got a 1050 Ti in this thing. Well, a faster graphics card does actually make all the difference, and it's even faster with this thing than dual SLI setup, because dual SLI doesn't actually make much difference.
Access granted. Your assigned landing pad is number 06.
And it's great that we can make some planetary landings, even though it's only maybe 10% of the planetary bodies out there. We can still land on some, and that's brilliant. And ordinarily I would glide my way through, but because we have the gear down, I'm about to get stuck on these lights.
Visual acquired. Heading is good.
And that means that I'm probably going to have to lift and move forward a bit before I can actually make that landing. It wasn't bad, but landings aren't my strong point these days.
Landing operation complete. Dispatching ground crew. Welcome, Commander.
And so let's fast forward on, and this was taken in September. It definitely says September there, and this was taken on my next mission, which was a voyage out. You can see I'm actually following the O and the A stars, and you can see NGC, that's where we are at the moment, and NGC 6231. And NGC 6231 is quite some way out, as you can imagine. So if we zoom out of there, we can see the galaxy map, and we can see that that's pretty lonely out there. And I got to this place because I found some lights in the distance, and I thought, well, let's follow those lights and see where they go. And so you can see a few nebulae on the map, but as soon as I zoom in, those tend to go to black and disappear, which is rubbish, and as soon as I move around, those disappear again. But you can see we are maybe, I'd say, at a guess, 1/6 or maybe 1/5 way towards the centre of the galaxy, and we are following a chain of stars, the O and the A stars, which often contain the black holes and the extra special worlds. And of course, trying to scan these should be worth a lot more. You can see now in this version of the patch, the planet actually does come towards the camera, and we do get the sense of moving from place to place. So let's check it out, and there is a bit of a delay on this particular version with the big suns materialising. No idea why, but all the rest seems to be okay, and this place is full of them, so it's going to take me some time to scan all these celestial bodies. And I think you gain more cash if you scan everything in the entire system, and that's accumulated, rather than cherry picking the very best on offer. And what I like to do now that I have these engineered scanners is to set off and scan very quickly, and then look out for the next target as I'm scanning the previous one. And of course, moving up and down is quicker than actually moving the ship any other way, so I tend to look up and down and move up and down to the next target, and as soon as one of them is scanned, that's what I do, and we can get through those targets pretty quickly doing it that way. And you can see that this place is pretty easy because it's full of suns or stars, and scanning those can be achieved because we have the upgrade of the scanner, and because those things are so large anyway. So you never know what we're going to get for these, but scanning those will help us anyway. And you can see we're cruising on around 30 light years per second, or light seconds per second, or whatever that is, and that means that we gain some speed, and we can cruise around this particular system scanning at our leisure. there are some terrific sights to see as well, not only the colours of the stars and the colours of the planets as well, which is due to have a major revamp in version 2.5 stroke 3.0, whatever that may be. And I really was blown away by the new planetary textures. You can see some stats there, and my average trading cost and my average income is usually around 600,000 credits, because for the past year I've been on millions missions, but you may have noticed my average was only 100,000 credits there. That's because for the very first year I wasn't earning the millions, and so that's why I'm averaging a huge amount, because I'm taking on millions missions and 4 millions missions, but unfortunately that has yet to catch up on the average stats. And you can see NGC, that's where it just come from. We've scanned all of those, but that's an easy place to scan, and I'm sure everybody must have scanned that, so I'm not going to get much for it. And so let's just scan a little something a bit nearer in the field, and hopefully we're going to find something of interest. And sometimes you never know in this game, but I don't tend to scan much unless it's a water world, and sometimes I go out of my way to scan those. I've noticed what they call honking the system is sometimes not very productive. You can see we've found 2 mega stars. It looks like 2 mega A stars in this particular galaxy. And if we do a quick scan as well, we found 4 items, and one of those, well, it looks pretty interesting, but yes, we are in the unexplored territory all over again, so I'll get a first discovered for some of these, and the rest have already been explored already. So congratulations, you've made it halfway through this playthrough, this continued Let's Play. We are actually some 4,000 light years away from the bubble at the moment. 4,000 light years is amazing, and it's also amazing that we can find water worlds all the way out here. You can see 2 dead brown dwarfs lurking around and what looks like a K-class star, and you can also see that we've also found something blue. And yes, blue things do appear out of hydrogen and oxygen when those things collide. And yes, here we are. This is our water world, and this is our water world because I've discovered it. And so this is my water world. And so this is a first discovered, and I wish I could land on the ice up there, just like the ice worlds, and plant my flag and say, "This is me." Because it said first discovered on the map, it should have a flag that says first discovered and a point of interest. But no, unfortunately I can't fly down and gloat over that and fly around my planet. And you can see there are some atmospheric effects, and you can see Cat's Paw Nebula, Cat's Paw in the distance skirting around, but let's just concentrate. And yet again, for some reason, I think it might have been because I was recording, but sometimes the textures do take a bit longer to load. But you can see lots going on with lots of cloud formations and the odd storm or typhoon. And as we head towards the polar region, we will also find an ice shelf with a covered mantle or whatever that may be. We gain a covered continental shelf on the polar region, and we can take a look at that. It's very well defined, and again I wish we could get down there and see a few waves and chill out on our very chilly beach. And it's probably minus God knows, minus 100 degrees centigrade down there at the moment, because we are deep into space. And this thing has a silvery light because of the star in the galaxy, which is pretty bright and pretty silvery. And yes, it's great to fly around and gloat over a planet that nobody's ever seen in this game before, and maybe nobody will ever see it again. And if this didn't appear in the video, I'd have no idea of the planet reference or the coordinates to find it ever again. But that's the planet's surface, and you can see it's pretty interesting, so let's carry on. And it's always interesting to find all those little bits and bobs, but for the most part we are following now the All-Stars and the A-Stars, and I'm simply hopping from one to one because hopefully they'll be worth a little bit more than scanning the ordinary stars. But as I found out at the end of this mission, again, simply scanning at random and pinging and, you know, basically going into a system and scanning just the main body alone actually doesn't really give us that much credit. And the less you scan, it seems, the less credit. You can see the route that we've been following, and due to this patch we gain a route as well. So 2.4 gives us where we've been already, and you can see that I've scanned all those regions, so this should be worth a fortune. And moving ahead, there are ever increasing on A-Stars, which are newly discovered, so hopefully I should be able to plot a route through those. You can see some more important ones as well, and I'm not particularly bothered about scooping because you can scoop from O and A stars anyway, and I'm not particularly bothered about the distance because this asp can travel 45 light years per jump, and so 37 light years is pretty easy in this thing. Of course, in real life I think the starlight would streak from the stars and create a streaking effect as we warp through it, but we can't have everything, and we even saw that on Star Wars. But let's just check out another first discovery and let's see what we find. And it looks like we've found a high metal content planet with lava in it, and those things are sometimes worth quite a bit. So let's scan that straight away, and we found something that looked a little bit like a water world as well. So let's just scan those places and let's see what those things contain. No point obviously scanning the rest of it, and those things are absolutely useless, so let's not bother with the places that we can land on. And yes, there will be less beige apparently in 2.5, and the planet colours are amazing. So let's just get to that place. It looked like a water world, but unfortunately, again, I can't edit or rewind the video, but this scans, as you can see at the bottom corner, as high metal content world, and it's clearly a water world. But anyway, I've never seen high metal content in water unless, well, it's some kind of iron oxide based water. But anyway, here we go, we're still following those unexplored regions, and all these things are my firsts. So if you don't find what you're looking for in the game, if you don't want to mine, pirate, explore, trade, and all the other things that you can do, including the combat and the new aliens, the Thargoids, well, I've absolutely no interest in getting blown up by Thargoids or carrying around Thargoid materials for a few $100 grand. I'm really looking for at least 50 million from this trip, and that should yet again bring up my average income, and I actually got 20 million as a result of this trip because I was basically pinging too many systems instead of scanning them, or whatever the name is for that. I can't actually remember off the top of my head. You can see I'm playing the game, I'm actually getting towards all those places that I think are quite valuable. I'm skipping out the rest because we're heading towards, hopefully, the Cat's Paw Nebula, which is at the long line ahead of all these stars. And it's going to take some time to get all the way through to Cat's Paw from here because it's a long way away, but because the stars are so dense at this point, hopefully I can turn on the tracking, and there you go, you can see that I'm only navigating by O and A stars at the moment, and you can see that that means that we can fast forward through all these other things at high speed, and you can see a trail of devastation left behind where I've scanned the heck out of those dark regions. And we have lots and lots and lots of places to travel to according to all those blue lines, but I'm only interested in the big ones, and some of these will be big planets as well, so hopefully they'll be worth more. And this is where we're heading towards at the moment, and that's Cat's Paw in the distance, Cat's Paw Nebula. And it's great that we can take a virtual tour of that. Now that we're so close, we can virtually glide via the big stars that are worth a lot of money, and we can fly all the way out there. And Cat's Paw Nebula is a pretty easy nebula to get to from the bubble, although it isn't as easy as California. It should hopefully have been scanned less times than the California Nebula, which of course has been scanned to death by everybody who's ever probably played this game. And you can see on the very, very distance, well, the nebula that we aren't going to get to, that's NGC something or other. It's a big old nebula in the distance, and because it's so big it appears like that. But let's fast forward and try to get towards the Cat's Paw, which you can see on the right, which is just about appearing on our radar, and hopefully, given another couple of jumps, you can see the star field now has thickened up, and I think a few F stars have now been selected, and F stars there. Well, it looks like we had O, B and A selected, and F, and I think you can scoop from all of those, and you can see that there is not too many jumps now. It's 505 light years away, and that's about, well, 4 or 5 jumps maybe in this thing, and those are the places that I can get to. And I've added 2 new bookmarks, and the first bookmark, this one, is the furthest away, and that will find me a planet base where I can check out what I've discovered so far. And the other bookmark is down at Lagoon Nebula, and unfortunately Lagoon is going back on myself, and I don't really want to backtrack when I've come this far, and we won't be going to the topmost NGC either. But rather than take the easy way out, I actually chose the hard way, and I avoided all the other galaxies and, well, all the other nebulae, and I went to the Eagle Nebula instead. And so the Eagle Nebula is quite close to, well, it's closer to Colonia, and it's closer to the centre of the galaxy. And you can see all the places to visit are quite numerous as well. So let's head on out there, and it's quite fun to visit the nebula, but unfortunately I forgot to pick up an SIV on the way out here, so unfortunately I cannot even land and check that nebula out from the planet's side. And I think the in-game graphics are amazing, and this game is breathtaking, even in the free look mode of the transition system, and you can get a feeling of travelling through space. And yet another bright white planet lies in front of us, yet more fuel scooping, and I have the B grade fuel scoop, I think, which isn't amazing for this particular ship, but I also picked up an 8-ton extra fuel tank as well. So what's that? The problem is you'll find too many stars which look too much like Earth-likes, and scanning all those stars and all those Earth-likes is quite productive. And so with the enhanced scanners, that's what I like to do, but something that's all the way over there. You can see it's quite some distance. What I like to do is to fly completely into blackness, and you can see we're already up to 1 light second per second, whatever it is, 1 light speed, 1 times the speed of light. Now we're up to 5, and it really does speed up from the star if you point that thing at nothing, and it usually levels out around 16 and stops and goes back again. So what you have to do is to continue flying into nothing, and it will continue to speed up. And so now we're at 20, and so we only have 25 seconds to go. It means we can line that thing up manually, and hopefully now we can slow down and start scanning that item. And sometimes you can be disappointed in the game because what look like Earth-likes or look like water worlds happen to ultimately be nothing, and sometimes it's quite a shame. I'm not certain that it's meant to do that. You can see some effects with sun glare on the glass of the ship, and that's great, and you don't get any bugs on the windshield in this particular game. So it's another journey out, and because we've already travelled to, well, 30 times the speed of light, you can see it travels all the way up there again, or it tries to, but because we're too close to the system, it tries to slow us down again. And so we are having to point it towards nothing, and hopefully now we're speeding up, we can slowly but surely aim the ship back towards our destination. Otherwise we'd be travelling at 20 times the speed of light right now and slowing down rather than speeding up, and that's not so good when we have 2,000 or 1,700 light years to travel, light seconds even. So you can see that we are now back up to the 30, and once you get up to 30 from here it should automatically get there, and if you get up to 60 it should get there as well. And sometimes if you fly really out into space and get up to 80 or 100, then as soon as you whack that thing into top gear it will get to that speed straight away. So of course it's better to scan the furthest items but sometimes first, and then you can speed on to the inner items very quickly. So we're now up to 42 times the speed of light, and we're having to slow down to scan that item. And it appears to be a water world, so my favourite hobby all the way out here is to check it out. And it's a water world, there doesn't seem to be many features upon it. So let's not crash into that thing, let's slow down and let's approach with caution and see what lies around that surface. And each one of them is unique. Every single one of these is my water world, and so let's check out yet again. I'm Pisces, born in February, so I'm a water sign, and so it's the sign that we need to check out, this water. And in this particular case it doesn't have a great weather system, and so you'll see swirling clouds all the way around it rather than storms. And that's yet again unique, but it does have a polar region away from that sun, which is some place that we could land on if we had atmospheric landing. And so that's yet another unique place. It's a blue cue ball in the middle of space, and we flew past it. So hopefully now we can get on closer to our next destination, and hopefully we can see those destinations piling up on the horizon as we fly around this planet. And hopefully the next jump into space will be the jump we need towards that nebula. And so we say bye bye Waterworld for the first and the last time ever. And so bye bye system. Let's discover something else. And let's jump straight there. And yes, you can see Cat's Paw. Well, that's NGC on the horizon. That's actually Cat's Paw sector. And you can see it's pretty red as we spiral around that thing. It's a bit like an orchid, and I find it's pretty mesmerising to fly around that like a kaleidoscope. You can see we've jumped all the way in with one jump to the thickest part of the nebula, hopefully, and this place is thick with blue stars, and so you can see that it's worth visiting this place even if you don't have the SRV. And so let's get to another location, perhaps even closer to that nebula, and let's jump there. Unfortunately that red light doesn't follow us into the warp, but the warp is pretty groovy anyway, and you can see that by the time we get there and fly around 1,000 times the speed of light, we get to see the nebula, and apparently that's a cat's paw. And so let's not hang around Cat's Paw, because unfortunately, as I showed you on the map before, we can't actually land at Cat's Paw. No, we have to fly all the way up to Eagle, and that's a long way along this path, which you can only barely see in this video. And if we scan around, finally that's it, Eagle Nebula, and that's going to take maybe 84 jumps to get all the way there. And so let's turn on a few stars and look at that. Those F-class stars are really piling up around Eagle. And no, I did not actually go out there and scan those purple regions. And yes, I am heading for that place around about now. But you can see Cat's Paw is multicoloured and it's not standard. It's a streak of light out in space. It's an aurora of, well, chemicals and colours and gases and acids and compounds and materials and atoms and molecules and electrons all flying around each other. And so that's the last I'll probably see at that place, because now we're heading towards the Eagle sector, which, as I say, took 85 jumps and it was 1,555 light years away, and that's quite some distance, but we'll cover that in those jumps, and so that's not bad. So we're heading towards another star. It's a pretty yellow one, but I'm probably not even going to bother scanning it. And that's because it's a common star and I'm not too worried about that. But the thing I'm bothered about in this section, well, let's just check it out. And yes, here it is. It's an actual landing surface, which, well, yet again, we can land on all the small moons in this entire system, and the one with the lines above it means there's a settlement on there, there's a building. And so let's just speed this footage up so that we get there. And you can see that it does take time to get to these places, so we will dip down the horizon and slowly, gradually build our speed up so that we can cover that 3,000 plus light seconds distance at something like 60 light years per second, whatever that is, 60 times the speed of light. We'll just get there. We're up to 70, we're now ranging on 80, and we're there. So let's just scan and let's see what we can find. And of course, we've scanned that place, so now we can find the moon. We can scan that place as well. And now all the available landable places on that landable body are right there. What I like to do is zoom in and select it, and even with the very old planet archetypal surface, it's still quite good to skim on down and land. So let's see what kind of meal we make of this. Is it going to be Chinese food or a curry? Are we going to make a banquet or a dog's dinner? And so what I like to do is to avoid the landing zone as much as possible and to come in at some kind of glide path. And so let's just leave the controls alone. You can see that I'm just drifting up into space, and hopefully now we can turn on the spot and line up with that destination.
Orbital flight engaged.
So once again, let's try to half the height to the distance, and so if it's 200 kilometers in that direction, it should be 100 kilometers up. And as soon as we get there, this is with everything, the detail on maximum and the horizon on maximum, so hopefully there won't be too much pop-up. And even though this is a settlement, so it will take slightly longer to load, you can see that we did continue to drop, and it was instant still, so there's no loading delays in this game. You can see that absolutely we kept on dropping and then we dropped out straight away. So hopefully we can get somewhere near that thing. This is the very end of the video, you'll be glad to know. This is our destination. This is Eagle Sector and Eagle Nebula, and so let's fly in our vague hope of discovering what we have scanned and what it is worth.
Lincoln Lima, India, Foxtrot. Flight control is in operation at this port. Submit a docking request before touching down, Commander. Request approved. Adjust heading for approach to pad 06.
Landing gear deployed.
And so it should be a nice easy glide path. Let's just knock off the thrusters and use the booster pads to get down there. Use the boosters, and we can hopefully fly in a straight line and land. And we have landed at Eagle's Landing, and we are about to check out the cartographics because there's nothing else to do here. There are a few missions and a few passenger missions, but you know, they aren't amazing, and you can't really trade much because they don't have anything to trade, and you can't upgrade, and we can't get our SIV either. There you can see that we have scanned a few places, and some of those are worth some money, so hopefully that will help us with our average profits. And again, I noticed the more we seemed to scan in a system, the more everything was worth, and empty systems where I only scanned 2 things, well, those weren't worth so much. So let's skip on to the next page, and each page is different. You can see this page is worth a lot of money, and that's because one of the systems was worth a lot of money. So let's skip on to the next page. This is worth even more. I'm sure that says close to 7 million for one page of data, and this has a lot to do with it. Swaltz RKC, it looks like D14/45, and that is actually somewhere near the NGC light show system that we found, very near that target, and we found a lot of money with that. But whilst we are still hanging on to this video with over an hour of it already gone, well, I'll just show you this final thing that I managed to discover in the Eagle sector, and it appears to be a secure facility. So if it's so secure, let's try and get on in there, and it's in a ring system, so we're gonna have to fly on in. And if this footage is at all stuttery, as I believe it is, well, unfortunately that is my ripper and that is not the game. So the footage, I know for a fact, will sort itself out once we get into that station, and as highly annoying as the stuttering is, I know at least it will fix itself eventually. So we're flying on in. We are in the Eagle sector, which is, well, many light years away from the populated zone. So I've never flown into one of these before. It appears to be embedded in a rock. So somehow someone's tunnelled within a rock, a boulder, an asteroid, all the way out here in this belt, and it's a prison colony, and you must wonder why they built a prison colony so many light seconds away from the populated zone, when, of course, well, why wouldn't they build it just a little bit nearer? So here we go. We have war zones, and we have conflict areas and hazardous resource sites all the way out here. Unfortunately, I don't have a single weapon at my disposal. This ASP is weaponless, and all I have is the speed.
Please ensure you follow standard docking procedures before landing. Access granted. Please enter your bay 37.
On top of all this stuttering, unfortunately I was recording the microphone instead of the in-game audio, and so the audio for this particular rip is a bit naff, but you get to see me entering this rock, and we'll explore this thing. It appears to be a mining colony all the way out here, but yes, it's supposed to be a prison, and we've entered it without a permit, absolutely no problem. What's actually at my disposal is not a lot, really, looking at that, and really this is a bit of a waste of time to be coming all the way out here to do anything whatsoever. And they don't have much, but they do have a mission board with 1 or 2 missions dotted around, none of which I can actually do, and donating to these guys, I don't think so. So what have we? So a few passengers waiting to, well, unfortunately I'm nowhere near anywhere able to get to those, and allied, I don't think so. So the usual 10 and 12 million missions, which are, well, usually a bit of a waste of time for even for this ASP that I'm in at the moment. But this rock in the middle of nowhere is of little significance, so I'm only going to show you a brief tour of this place before we leave and move on to the last interesting thing that I found in this sector. because as I was flying around this place, I noticed all these stars on the horizon, and you may have just glimpsed the nebula. Yes, this is supposed to be the Eel Nebula, but I haven't seen much of it so far. You can see I'm scanning this system, which is worth a fortune, and it's good that it is, because at least they are worth a lot out here. I'm only scanning B stars at the moment, because I think that they have the most in them that is worth something, and the rest I'm not too bothered about. And so as we come in to scan one of the last things in this particular system of all of this stuff that I've managed to scan, and this stuff is going to be worth millions, I'll just show you that what I actually found was a faint glimpse of the nebula. It's slightly red, and you can see some stars in the distance, which is a little bit crazy because they are off the galactic plane. And here are a few photographs that I managed to take of those particular stars, and from a different angle you can see they are oddly lined up like a beach, like sand dunes. They are lined up, and that is oddly odd to say the least. And you can see a bit of the nebula as it creeps in with that kind of thing, and finally we get to see the nebula there. So what I'm going to do, hopefully, is I'm going to plan a route into all that stuff, and let's see what it looks like from the inside. And it's the last most interesting thing that I found around here, so let's just take a look at that on the map. And again, this is pretty dodgy audio because I'm recording the microphone, but you can see a carpet is laid out in front of us all the way from this spot. So let's take off from this rock and let's see how far we can get with it.
Detachment complete. You are go for departure.
This being on a spiral arm, there are tons of stars out here. In fact, there are as many stars as you can see on a typical starry night in the UK, and it just appears that there are more because we are, well, very close, or at least much closer to the centre of the galaxy. So as we can see, we are now leaving hopefully that star belt around that place, and we can line ourselves up for the carpet, which you can see of stars in front of us. And let's ride that magic carpet and avoid some more of the stuttering, hopefully, as we record our way towards the next place in the galaxy. So let's just fly out for a little bit and see if we notice any changes in this place. You may notice it's full of stars, which is not so good because they aren't worth too much. And you can see finally the stars are appearing in front of us, and hopefully we can get to see the carpet from the inside. And you can see, well, it's an odd bank of stars, and it's, well, not quite sure whether it's worth coming all the way out here to see lines of stars lined up in a line, but they oddly seem to be. So I'm not sure whether that's actually, you know, physics in real life, or whether that's just a quirk of this game and they just shoved a patch of stars in here. No idea, but you can see it's not something you see every day, with hopefully a little bit of the nebula behind it. Taking a look at that galaxy map, you can see the star pattern in the sky. It makes a very pretty purple pattern with this, well, this kind of colour coding system that Elite have got going on. And you can see it's a very nice light show to greet us all the way out here. And, well, that's very special, but I have no interest in visiting any more of these stars, so this is the last time I'm going to get to see this stuff. And there are plenty of stars around here, worth a lot more, so I'll probably be foregoing this region and just making it my temporary base just for now. And, well, you can see how far away that we are. If those annoying signs disappear, well, we momentarily got to see how far we are away from the populated zone, and that's as far as I want to be with Thargoids. So thanks for viewing this marathon, and hope to see you again in another review sometime soon.